Wait. Nige,
Yeah, what's up, E?
I thought we weren't going to be back on these mics till September.
Yeah, you may have thought that, but surprise.
We're hopping back in the feed to say hi. We've missed you. And because we didn't want to wait any longer to tell you about this new show from our friends up north, the CBC. You know, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation.
It's a podcast series we're really excited about called Life Jolt. It's all about the experiences of women inside prison. Life Jolt spent a year visiting a female prison in Ontario, and it's hosted by a woman who's been incarcerated herself.
We've been working to get more women voices on Ear Hustle, and it's great to hear a whole series dedicated to those experiences.
The host, Rosemary Green, is super vulnerable about her own experience. And Earlonne, there is something about her voice I just love. It's engaging and sympathetic, and it really pulls you into the story.
So here's the first episode of the series Life Jolt from CBC. It's about those days before you go to prison.
We hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you back here in just a few weeks.
September 8th.
For the launch of Ear Hustle Season 8.
The following episode contains difficult subject matter and references sexual assault. Please take care.
I remember the day I went to jail. I remember getting off that plane in Miami, and as soon as I stepped up to that immigration desk, I knew I was in trouble. I was arrested, and the immigration officer, he led me through the airport after putting the cold handcuffs on me. I remember my hands being put behind my back and being led through that airport. And if anyone knows about Miami Airport, it is busy. And I remember there was a little girl walking with her mom, and she grabbed onto her mother's hand. And the shame that washed through me was more shame than any critic could ever throw my way. My name is Rosemary Green, and this is Life Jolt. It's a podcast about the experience of women in the correctional system, women like me. Life Jolt is prison slang for a life sentence. But in a way, every jail sentence is a life sentence. It doesn't really end when you get out. I know. I've spent 5 years in a U.S. prison for drug trafficking. It haunts me still. But I'm here to tell you that I'm so much more than my crime. We all are. In this episode, we're going to focus on the first stage of a woman's journey through the criminal justice system. Let's call it the before times. Before you've had your day in court, before you're convicted or acquitted, that period between your arrest and your sentence, when you really don't know what's going to happen, if you'll be sent to prison or for how long. The wait can be excruciating. If you're lucky, you'll get bail, and at least you can wait at home. If you're not so lucky, you have to wait in jail on remand, like I did, and like Diana did.
There's no alleged about it. I came home drunk, and I thought my husband and friend was cheating because she was there, and we had an argument a week before, so I couldn't understand why she was there. I blew up, I got mad, and they take off. My husband went up the street to a friend's house, and she took off. I don't know where she went at first.
Diana is one of roughly 2,000 women in Canadian prisons.
You want actual detail? Well, I grabbed his guitar and I started storming up the street. So I went in there and I smashed the guitar over him.
She's describing the assault that landed her in jail.
We've been married 26 years. And it's not how I am. And then the guitar went to pieces, so I was hitting him with my fist, and then as I'm getting pushed out of the house, I saw a pot of boiling water and I threw it at him. And I came back to my house, and my husband's a target shooter, 22. I never even fired a gun before.
Diana grabbed his rifle and went looking for her friend.
And now I have to go to prison. Nothing can change it, nothing.
My producers, John and Danielle, first met Diana at Quinte Detention Center in Napanee, Ontario. She is awaiting sentencing on 2 counts of assault with a weapon and 1 count of using a firearm while committing a crime.
Hi.
Hi, John.
Diana.
Nice to meet you, Diana. This is Danielle.
Danielle, John, I'll probably forget your names.
That's okay.
But, yeah.
This was her 5th jail since her arrest.
Be safe and sound behind this gate.
Thanks to the alcohol and drugs, the arrest is a bit hazy to Diana now. But it slowly comes back to her.
And I know I was telling them everything, though. I was telling them all of it. They kept saying, I remember this too, they kept saying, you have the right to remain silent. But, and do you understand? And I'm still blah, 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 and just going on and on and on. I really didn't think I was going to be in trouble. I don't know, like I've never been in trouble. I've never been with the police. I've never, I thought, okay, you did wrong, go home.
It's hard to come to terms with that feeling. 1 minute you're a free citizen, and the next minute you're on your way to jail.
No, it wasn't until I think the next day. The next day when I went to court, I think it was the next day, I went to court and the lawyer was talking to me and, well, you gotta go to jail, and that's when it hit me. I was more sober and everything too, right? So, and then I freaked out. I'm like, whoa. And that's why they had to put me on suicide watch.
My arrest at the Miami airport will be seared in my mind forever. They brought me into a small room and they started to ask me questions. And there were so many immigration officers around me. And they were just all staring at me, all eyes on me. I remember them going through my stuff. I used to always wear a necklace, a cross necklace. I was never big on faith, but I always wore this cross necklace. And as I sat there in this detention part of an airport, it was so cold and you could hear the vent blowing. And I remember them saying, "What did you do? Where are you coming from?" And I just remembered trying to lie, even though I knew I was caught. But the deal breaker was when they asked me to take off the cross around my neck. I'd never taken this cross off. I felt like it was like a protection, even though I didn't believe in God. So they took off the cross and I handed it to the immigration officer. And then there was another immigration officer who was going through my wallet. And he pulled out a picture of my 4 children. And he said, "Are these your kids?" And I remember telling the officer, "Yeah, those are my children." I was angry by that time because he was touching my children, even though it was just a picture. And he said, "If you don't tell us the truth, you will never see them again." Although that seems so far-fetched, like never, that's kind of crazy. In that moment of darkness and despair, I believed it. And that was my breaking point. And I said, "I will tell you everything you want to know. Just put back my children. Put them back."
How you doing?
Sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry, Rosemary. I know this is a lot to process.
It's okay. It's what I signed up for, right?
Yeah.
Whew. After that incident, a part of me died. I let my feelings, my weakness, and the things that made me weak, such as my children, almost like they disappeared. Although I had conversations with my children while I was in prison, I had to allow my fight to ignite, that fight or flight instinct that is within all of us. I had to fight now. I had to allow my survival instincts to kick in, and that would mean letting go of the things that made me weak. And as much as it pains me to say it, in that moment, Under those circumstances, my children made me weak.
I'm 46 years old. I've never been in trouble with the law. It's my first time, and hopefully my last.
Diana's learning about remand. It's a certain kind of agony. The courts haven't decided if you belong in prison yet, but they're pretty sure that you don't belong in society.
I've been here, I think almost 6 months now. I've been transferred a few times. I've gone to Ottawa, Carleton. I've gone to Sarnia. I went to Vanier for a night, and I think that's it.
It's hard enough to be in jail for the first time, but the constant transfers make it even worse and nearly impossible to stay connected with family and friends.
I don't know what to expect for jail. This is all I know right now. And when I get transferred to another jail, it's like the first day home. It's scary. Then I get transferred back, and it's like, not that I'm home, but it's familiar, and I'm not afraid. Then I get transferred out again, then I'm afraid.
I didn't get moved around as much as Diana did early on, but I'll never forget going through intake for the first time. I remember being led into the detention center and them taking my fingerprints and taking my mugshot and making me strip. And I remember gripping onto the clothes that I was wearing and not wanting to let go of them because it was the last thing I had left. You took my cross. You took my pictures of my children. This was it. This was all I had left was my clothing that I had on. And they told me I had to put it in a box and that it was going to be shipped back to my family because they can't hold it because I'm not an American citizen. And they basically said, strip. And every part of me, every part of my humanity was stripped away in that moment because that's when they began to say, bend over, cough, spread your cheeks. And they gave me this jumpsuit, bright orange jumpsuit and blue shoes, these blue sneakers, no shoelaces. And then they're given a bedroll. And inside this bedroll, there's a half toothbrush about 3 inches long and toothpaste and a roll-on deodorant. And you're walked into the detention center with these big, huge doors. They made these doors to slam so you could know that you are locked up and you're going to stay in here. It was this big open area with 2 tiers, the rooms where the women would stay in. At the time, I didn't know what it was. So I walked in, I stood there with this bedroll, and then all of a sudden, everybody started coming out of the room, staring at this new girl that had just walked in. An officer came and they're like, inmate 804-67004, proceed to room number. And then they tell you what room to go into, and you walk through the door, and then you lay on your bed. And all I felt was emptiness. Then comes the strange reality of this new world you're living in.
The group I have in dorm are amazing. You end up, becoming very close. When you're in a cell, the toilet's right there and your bed's right here. And you gotta go.
I'm with you, Diana. I've been there. There are few things tougher than using the commode in front of your bunkie or a guard.
This dorm, it has an octagon table kind of thing. It's got 4 chairs. It's got 2 bunk beds. Just in the bathroom, the door is just a toilet and a sink. And it's overhoused here, it's big time. A lot of people. We have people sleeping on the floor, on the mattress, underneath tables and stuff, yeah. Sometimes we don't.
Despite the close quarters, Diana says it's hard to get to know the other inmates.
A lot of them come and go, because it is just a remand center. A lot of them get out on bail. A lot of them already done their time. And I think we're just a bunch of good people that did something wrong, make mistakes.
So during my time on remand, the thing that stood out to me the most was feeling like I was walking through a fog. You can't see in front of you, you can't see behind you, to the left or the right, up or down. And you're walking through this dark time because during remand, you don't know what your sentence is going to be. You don't know if you're told your guidelines were 10 years to life, which I was given. I didn't know where my life stood at that time. It was in the hands of somebody else. I was completely out of control. And during that time of fog, it can be so trying and so difficult. But everybody finds their own way of coping. Diana is finding her strength in her faith.
I've been trying to get baptized in here. I spoke to the chaplain and he said there's never been a baptism done here before, but I said, well, between you and I, if we put in some requests, maybe I can be the first one. But just to have that, I guess, a chaplain or something and just blessing me, be cool. Sure, I'm sad and depressed, but I'm also still one to tell jokes and try and lift someone else's spirit. But in the showers, it's where I'll cry. And then I come out as if nothing's wrong with me and carry on my day. The not knowing is hard. But I just live each day one day at a time.
One day at a time. It's good advice. Because she's right. The not knowing is tough. Especially in the beginning. When you're first arrested. You have no idea what your future holds. Or how you're going to survive it.
I occupy myself in here with the Bible and writing letters to my kids. They write me back, and my 25-year-old, you fold up the paper like an accordion, and she'd draw a head, and I'd have to draw the body part to it, but I can't see the head, and put it back in the envelope and mail it back to her, and then she'll draw another piece and back and forth, and my other kid.
Her daughters come as much as they can, but even when they do visit, it's hard to connect.
It's got a glass, and you don't have a phone. It's just like this little grate at the bottom, and even talking like this, you have to actually bend right down and talk into it and put your ear up to it. So whenever we're talking, we don't get to see the other person's face or anything, and then we'd lift up our heads to look through the window, and then we'd have to put back our heads down. They'll have to put theirs
and
down.
Sometimes you just have to laugh.
Why is it that Mickey Mouse doesn't have very many friends?
Why?
Because his wife's a rat and his best friend's a goof.
Oh, God.
That's a total jail joke.
That sounds all right to me. That's funny.
Oh my God, I got a whole bunch of them.
People on remand make up a huge part of the Canadian prison system, roughly 60% in 2018. That's 140,000 people incarcerated without a conviction. Despite those huge numbers, remand is supposed to be a last resort. Unless you're a public safety risk or a flight risk, bail is the court's first option. Diana was granted bail at first, but it didn't last. She couldn't stay at her house because that's where her husband Harry was living. The courts had given Diana a standard order to not communicate with her victims, and Harry was one of her victims. So a friend agreed to put her up. But that was an unstable situation that eventually fell apart. So Diana was sent to remand, not because she had suddenly become a safety or a flight risk, and not because she had committed another crime or even misbehaved. She was sent to jail because she had nowhere else to go.
We'll be back with the second part of this episode of Life Jolt from the CBC after a quick break.
When you're staring at a prison sentence with nothing but time to worry and wonder, it can lead to a lot of self-reflection about the choices we make and why. I lost control of who I was at a very young age. At a young age, I was sexually molested. I'm not looking for a justification for why I chose and did the things that I did. But the reality of it was that had happened to me. And that turned me into an angry person. It is said that people who are sexually molested either completely abstain from sex or they indulge in it. My drug of choice became men. I slept around. I hated my life. I hated my existence. And that led me into making very destructive decisions. I ended up getting into relationships where I was abused. And at one point, I was actually raped by one of my partners. He broke into my home and he raped me. I had such an anger at this point that I was determined that I was either going to get killed by my own destruction, or maybe if I slept with enough men, I would end up with AIDS one day. So I ended up having children. My first set of children was twins, and then I went on and had a son, and then I had my youngest daughter with a married man. This married man and I happened to know some people who were drug dealers, and he introduced me to crack cocaine. I was never a person that indulged in drugs. At a young age, I tried marijuana. It never worked for me, so I was never going to touch drugs. But my drug of choice, as I said earlier, was men. But then it transferred into money, and I loved money. So although I was seeing people taking these drugs and literally decaying, their bodies just drifting away, and watching them taking these drugs, and it didn't matter at that point because all I wanted was the money. That was my fix. And then an opportunity arose where I was able to travel to the United States and get some drugs and traffic it over to the border. And then at the border, I would meet up with somebody and they would transfer the drugs over to Canada. And then I did that, and it was so easy. One thing about being in the streets, when you've been in it long enough, people get to know you. Well, at this point, my name was out there so well that it came in contact with the Colombian cartel. And they asked me if I would be willing to traffic liquid cocaine from Panama to Canada. I was offered a certain amount of money to bring back if I brought back these drugs. I wasn't aware of how much it was going to be. All I was told is they would come in shampoo bottles. I was shown the casing that it would be in. Dogs could not detect it. And I met up with some of the dealers, and they said, you just go there, you're going to stay at a hotel, and then you'll come back. If you know anybody else, the more people you bring, the more money you'll make. So, of course, I got an acquaintance of mine to join in on it with me. So I went to Panama, and on my way back, with all those drugs, I knew my time was up. I know my story sounds crazy, which it is. Of course, it is definitely crazy. But not all stories are like mine. There is stories of women that are in prison that are relatable, like Diana.
My dad died in 2009, but my mom died in 2013 on the operating table. And then after she died, I started drinking. And
Diana used to be a heavy drinker, but then she got sober for 17 years. Then with the passing of her parents, booze became her coping mechanism. Then her husband, Harry, had a heart attack. He was the breadwinner, and now he couldn't work. Things got very tight.
Well, our bills, were piling up, and I wasn't working, he wasn't working, and we went from, it wasn't a lot of money. $5,000 a month isn't a lot. But we went from that to $1,500 a month.
So the reason why Diana was not working was she had severe neck pain. Diana had been working. She actually was a crossing guard in her city. The local newspaper actually featured a picture of her holding her crossing guard sign bundled up like a snowman. But it got so bad, this neck pain, that she couldn't even hold up her crossing guard sign anymore.
I started going paralyzed, and I couldn't even pick up coffee. I couldn't even, get out of bed and stuff. And it was just wear and tear. I guess it was pinching my nerve in my spinal cord and stuff. They put in a bone graft, fused it together, and I have a plate and screws in it right now. And
Diana has degenerative disc disease. That was the diagnosis. Her doctor had prescribed her with pain medication, but none of it was helping. She even had surgery. And this only made Diana more frustrated because nothing was working.
And then that's when I started drinking. And a couple of tall boys, actually, it was the first time I could move, without pain.
And then she turned to illicit drugs.
Yeah, I just found anything on the street for pain relief, and morphine pills and codeine and stuff like that. The alcohol helped with the pain, the friggin' drugs helped with the pain.
Then someone offered her crystal meth.
I was still in pain, and they're like, "Oh, well, try this." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, sure." Just a few times, probably once or twice a week for a good 3-4 months straight. I just wanted the pain gone.
Diana was drunk and high on the day she found Harry and her friend Allison at home alone. She still can't believe she reached for that gun.
I didn't even oh my God, I don't even know exactly how I did it or how it even worked, because trying to put it in the little magazine, but the bullets wouldn't go in. They weren't even the right bullets, and that's why they wouldn't even stay in the little trigger thing, the clip. So I just had them in my pocket. I just know that it was wrapped up in a coat. And when I knocked on the door, I heard her little dog barking, so I knew she was in there.
Diana had followed Allison to a room at a motel. Looking back, she's relieved that Allison's boyfriend was there to kick her out. And now that she's clean and sober, Diana said she didn't actually think that Harry cheated on her.
It was just stupid. No, I don't believe anything was happening. We always had a great relationship. He's my best friend. And I still haven't talked to him. Just glad nobody got really hurt. And I know I did wrong, so I gotta be punished for it. And I get that. I'm totally ashamed of all of it.
My producers, John and Danielle, met up with Diana's husband, Harry, at a Tim Hortons.
I'm Harry.
Harry, how are you doing? Nice to meet you. My colleague Danielle.
This is the first time that she's ever been in trouble for anything before. Diana, she's never been charged with anything. She's actually been a crossing guard for 12 years for the city. She went down there after her crossing stuff and did stuff with the kids, draw down the cement with them down the parking lot and stuff, you know what I mean? And she was always good with the kids.
Harry also confirmed that Diana's neck problems had her in constant pain.
Her spinal cord was deteriorating, making her into a quadriplegic. She could hardly even move. So we went and got her checked out, and her bone in her neck was deteriorating. The system seems to have just swept her under the rug, really. They class her because she does the odd street drugs as a drug person, so they won't help her at all. They just push her away, which makes her just go get more. I was not aware of all the heavy stuff she was into. I don't know how I could have been so stupid.
And then a Monday in March, everything changed.
We were having a party at the house. There was a girl in the bathroom. On my medication, when I have to use the bathroom, I have to use it now or I'll actually wet myself. So I hollered in the bathroom. I said, "Are you finished in there yet?" She said, "Yes." I started walking towards the bathroom. She walked out the bathroom, and I walked in the bathroom, just as my wife came around the corner. And she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going for a pee." She said, "No, you're not. You were just in there with that girl." I said, "No, I wasn't." It was just a big misunderstanding of what it was. I admit that it was serious. Like, she shouldn't have done what she did, for sure. But still, you know what I mean? My daughter's talked to her. I drive my kids up to see her, but I can't see her. They put a ban against me talking to her at all because I'm the victim, right? But we're still a husband and wife. When is my time to make up? I mean, it's really hard, actually. I can't really talk about it too much, get too emotional.
By the window?
I still love her. I want her back. And I'll wait for her. That's not my wife that attacked me. Not who she is at all.
Diana knows she's looking at a sentence of at least 2 years in prison, and maybe a lot more. It means she'll serve her time in a federal pen, Grand Valley Institution in Kitchener, Ontario.
I have it too here. Yeah, I can read it.
Diana wrote a letter to the judge in her case to express her remorse.
I am writing this letter to relinquish my thoughts and feelings to the court, Crown, and most of all the victims. I would like to deeply apologize for my unacceptable and disconcerted behavior. I fully admit my guilt and wrongdoing and wish that they both may understand that I absolutely acknowledge how I made them feel vulnerable with physical and emotional pain. My actions on the 19th day of March 2018 was undeniably out of character, which was filled with depression and despair, fear and anxiety, anger and agony. You see, I was under the influence of drugs and alcohol on that said day. Not that it gives me an excuse, but it does justify why I behaved the way I did. I told the truth to the officers then, and I am truly telling it now. I take full responsibility for my choices and actions on that horrible day. I know I did a crime, therefore it is inevitable that I do some time. Just please, not 5 to 7 years of time. And again, to the victims, I wholeheartedly wish them the very best. And I am truly sorry for what I had done to them.
Right now, Diana is focusing on trying to imagine a better future.
I only have my high school diploma, but maybe I can do some schooling or something. Get a trade or something when I am finally home. I'm counting up the days, but I just want to start counting down so I can get home.
Diana has accepted her fate, but she still has hope. Hope that comes from what she's learned about herself while in custody.
I've been in here, so I've been sober and, drug-free, so for almost 6 months, and I'm coping with life. And all they give me is just Advil and Tylenol for the little bit of relief I can get, and A535 rub. I can do things in life without drugs and alcohol, and I can manage my pain. If I can do that in jail, I can definitely do that out there. Because I didn't think I could ever do jail without my family, without being by them. I guess I'm a little stronger than I thought I was. I'm not going to trial. I'm going to plead guilty to everything I did. I did it. There's no sense in lying about it. It's whatever the judge says after that. The Crown wants 5 to 7 years. My lawyer's hoping for 3. But I still say that's a lot.
Thank you.
I had a bad day.
Next time on Life Jolt, Diana finds out how long her sentence will be and will discover what is waiting for her and another first-timer in prison.
It's very horror movie-esque, everyone's kind of It's quiet. There's no one else out there. You can see people peeking out the windows and looking. But other than that, it was just dead quiet.
Welcome to Grand Valley. Life Jolt is produced by John Chipman and Danielle Carr. It was edited and mixed by Graham McDonald. Our coordinating producer is Glory Omateo. Jeff Turner is our senior producer, and Arif Noorani is our executive producer. Diana is a musician, and it's a passion she'll lean on at Grand Valley. Here she is playing Amazing Grace on a harmonica she borrowed in the prison. I'm Rosemary Green. Thanks for listening.
That was nice, Nige.
Yes, it was. Each episode ends with a song performed by an incarcerated woman, and it's a lovely bonus. It just gives the listener that opportunity to sit back and reflect on what they just heard. I think it's great.
Check out the rest of Life Jolt, 8 more episodes, wherever you get your podcasts, or you can find them online, cbc.ca/Life Jolt.
We will see you back here with our first episode of our new season on September 8th.
And it's a big one. About one of the most notorious days in the history of San Quentin.
And like we said at the top, you'll also be hearing more women's voices this season, including a whole episode about motherhood in prison.
And if you like that little snippet of Amazing Grace you just heard, you're in luck. This season, we're bringing back Ear Hustle's music episode.
Whoop, whoop.
More songs from inside prison, as well as ones about what happened when you walk out the gates and hit the bricks.
In the meantime, you can sign up for our newsletter, The Lowdown, and get some Ear Hustle merch on our website.
We still have those sweet, sweet Ear Hustle hoodies.
I love those.
Indeed. That's at earhustlesq.com.
We will see you in a few weeks.
Radiotopia.